What is happening, Magnus? So, I remember when I saw this trailer, thought it was rather peculiar. I forgot it was coming out. Let's see what the drinker thinks, though.
Okay, check out this pitch, right? It's a sci-fi movie set in the future where we can clone people and copy their memories to bring them back to life if they die.
Okay.
But then the main character gets cloned while he's still alive, so now there's like two of him. Wait, didn't they already do that in The Sixth Day? Nah, it'll be fine. And it's going to cover all the stuff that we pretend to care about here in Hollywood, like the environment, and colonization, and the Orange Man, and Big Pharma, and powerful corporations exploiting the working classes for profit. And we'll get that guy who did Parasite to write and direct it, because he's good at that smart satirical stuff. I don't know, man. Our audience is pretty stupid. They might not get what we're trying to say with this film. Don't worry, it's okay. We'll just make it dumb as and hammer home the messaging with as much subtlety as a dump truck full of sledgehammers. And we'll get that Ruffalo guy in to play the villain like he's acting in a middle school pantomime. That's sure to work.
He's the villain?
Are you really sure this is a good idea, sir? It sounds like we're wasting a lot of good potential just to make the same political points we've been repeating for the past 10 years now, and people are getting pretty sick of. Wouldn't it be better to just make an actual smart sci-fi movie that gets people thinking instead?
Nah, it'll be fine.
You're fired.
I was going to say that.
Never have I seen such an assemblage of talent and potential squandered quite so impressively as Mickey 17, a movie whose trailer promised a black sci-fi comedy wrapped up in a biting
it's starting to come back to me. It was like dark and weird and morbid to me. Yeah.
satire of modern culture, made by a director with a mostly good track record and boasting a mostly talented cast who can deliver when it counts. What we got instead was all of the worst excesses of modern Hollywood wrapped up in one particularly messy package. A bloated and incoherent narrative that tries to juggle way too many characters and subplots, takes forever to get going and doesn't do anything particularly interesting once it does. Characters whose decisions and thought processes only make sense if you assume that most of them are functionally satire that isn't smart, jokes that aren't funny, heartfelt moments that never land because everything around them is so completely ridiculous, and performances that verge on the absurd. Anyway, allow me to describe whatever passes for a plot so we can get this review over
insane.
with. In the mid-21st century, with Earth increasingly polluted, humanity is spreading out to colonize nearby star systems, including the icy planet of Niflheim. The expedition is led by Kenneth Marshall, a rich
Sounds Viking.
Christian televangelist and failed politician who spouts absolute nonsense in his speeches, has almost no understanding of the ship or the mission, and whose fanatical supporters wear red caps to identify themselves. Are you getting it yet? Anyway, because it's a dangerous mission, the ship needs a crew member who's quite literally expendable. A guy who can get killed again and again and have his consciousness downloaded into a new body each time. Enter Mickey, our main man, who signs up for the mission to escape a loan shark after a failed business venture on Earth. Don't worry though, if you're worried about that backstory being relevant to the main plot in any way, it's not. It does eat up a shitload of screen time though, which is pretty cool I guess. Anyway, after 16 other versions of him get killed in a variety of horrible ways, Mickey 17 is out on a mission to capture one of the aliens who inhabit the planet, when he's captured instead and presumed killed. He isn't though, and when he does return to the ship, he finds another version of himself has already been printed off. Now this presents quite the problem, because two versions of the same person are strictly prohibited, so they eventually agree to keep their situation hidden from everyone else.
Gotcha.
That is, until Mickey 17 almost dies at a private dinner with Marshall, prompting Mickey 18 to try to assassinate the guy, which causes all kinds of wacky shenanigans and almost provokes a full-scale war with the planet's indigenous life forms. Now, if I had to pin down the biggest problem with Mickey 17, I'd say that it just can't stay focused long enough to get anything done. Like, the first 30 minutes of the film are basically just a preamble to the actual story, and probably could have been condensed down into a fraction of that time. There's all kinds of subplots about loan sharks and gangsters who for some reason are willing to travel halfway across the galaxy just to recoup a small business loan, broken friendships and betrayals, love triangles and relationship dynamics that go absolutely nowhere, and it's all just an annoying distraction that eats up precious screen time. And the finale is an absolute clusterfuck of disjointed events and nonsensical decisions that kills even the vaguest idea that anything's at stake. And what's kind of annoying is that there's a decent enough premise buried beneath it all. The idea of a person repeatedly dying and being reborn has been tackled many times in many different movies.
They did
and there's
it
definitely
very
ways
well.
to keep it interesting and entertaining.
It's one of my favorite
but Mickey
movies.
17 loses its momentum all too quickly. I mean, it is kind of fun watching Mickey get sacrificed in a bunch of gory ways only to get spat out of a 3D printer the next day, in the same way that it's funny to watch someone walk into a plate glass door, but it eventually loses its appeal after you've seen the same gag like 5 or 6 times and you realise they're not going to do anything more imaginative with it. Likewise, there's fertile philosophical ground to cover about the nature of consciousness, identity, and even the immortal soul, especially when Mickey gets cloned while still alive, but the film's got zero interest in exploring anything deeper like that. It's basic surface level comedy that doesn't go much further than, isn't it funny to watch?
Although I'm fine with deep comedy and surface level comedy. Oh my God. You stupid screen record. I have to check out those settings. All right. Notification popped up.
Arguing with each other. Well, no it isn't. I mean, credit where credit's due. Pattinson is without a doubt the best thing in this movie, and you can tell that he's doing his best to elevate some pretty mediocre material. I guess he must have watched a lot of Rick and Morty before shooting Mickey 17 though, because his, jeez, I don't know about this, delivery is a straight up impersonation of
jeez.
Toni Collette is another talented actor who's wasted in this film. Her character's got no particular reason for being in the movie.
That's my first time trying to do both their
one
voices.
Of the most hammy, over-the-top performances of her entire career. Then there's Mark Ruffalo. Jesus, every time I see that guy's fat, rubbery face show up in a movie now, my heart sinks because I know I'm going to have to suffer through the same lazy, phoned-in performance he's been doing in basically everything recently. His character, Marshall, is just Donald Trump crossed with one of those cheesy televangelist con men you see on late-night TV, and holy crap, does Ruffalo go all in on this one. You know the kind of lazy, exaggerated Trump impersonation you see on Saturday Night Live, which the average person on the street can probably improve on? Well, dial that level of laziness up to 11 and you come somewhere close to Ruffalo's level of on-the-nose performance in this movie. It's the literal personification of Hollywood cringe. It feels so dated and ham-fisted in 2025, and it's so desperate to get as many jabs in as possible that it practically trips over itself and ruins its own premise. Also, I can't shake the impression that when they made this movie, they probably thought the US election was going to turn out very differently. Now, just to be clear on this one, I'm firmly of the belief that guys like Trump deserve to be mocked just as much as any other public figure, but if you're going to do it, at least put some effort into it. This is the kind of you'd see on free entry open mic night at a not particularly good comedy club. Satire is supposed to be smart and subtle enough that it functions on its own merits, presenting absurd concepts and individuals in a format that's almost believable, but this kind of isn't satire, it's just straight up parody, and not particularly funny parody at that. Ultimately, Mickey 17 is a decent concept.
What's funny? Watching his review is making me want to check it out. Even though he hasn't liked it, hearing more about it is making me want to see it so I can see just how bad or good it is. Maybe I'll go see it this week. Maybe.
Lost in the churning sludge of Hollywood politics and insecurities, a film that fails to make good on any of its promises, that isn't funny enough to be a comedy, smart enough to be a satire, imaginative enough to be a good sci-fi movie, or even exciting enough to be an action flick. It's a failure in every way, and if you want my advice, you'll save like 2.5 hours of your life and go watch something more enjoyable. Like paint drying. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Oh, good Lord. Get over and follow the Critical Drinker. Tell him Tyrone Magnus sent ya. Tell me what you thought about the movie if you've seen it down below. Help me figure some things out. But yeah, I think I might go see it. 10 million subscribers. Woo!